Chapter 18. Peter. Her stomps were louder than her scent. Birds and squirrels fled the scene as leaves and small twigs crunched under her feet. My first instinct was to smile when I saw her, but that was squashed once I saw the look on her face. She didn't come to kiss today. She came to fight. You'd think someone in your shoes would be a little more grateful and actually show up when someone invites them to dinner, she said, tossing a covered plate at my chest. Spaghetti noodles spilled out on my shirt, but I kept most of them from falling to the ground. I cursed at myself. Dinner. That's what I'd forgotten. I didn't mean to. Didn't mean to what? Stand me up? Make me look like a fool waiting for you, staring out the window hoping you were all right? Well, I wondered if I would come out here and find you as a wolf. I wondered if you were alive, because I thought, surely Peter wouldn't go back on his word unless he unwillingly turned into a wolf or was dead. But look at you. Here you are, perfectly fine. I don't know if I'm relieved or if it makes me even more angry. I licked some sauce off my finger. It's good. Did you cook this? Yes, mister, I did. I slaved over a hot stove for you, and you didn't even come home. Good heavens, I sound like a wife from the 50s, she said, her anger disintegrating as a smile crossed her face. May I explain myself? I asked, fearing she would cut me off with another monologue. Do you have an actual explanation that weighs as much as being a wolf or being dead? She asked, her voice laced with sarcasm. I chuckled. Actually, yes. It's about being a wolf and being dead. She grew serious, and all anger within her was gone. What do you mean? Do you know a guy named Nash? I asked. Nash Williams, the sheriff's kid? Yeah, why? She asked. I launched into my story, passing on everything I heard at the meeting and how distressed I had been. To be honest, I don't really have an excuse, I admitted. It wasn't as if they were chasing me with guns at the moment. I forgot, Brooke. I was worried about you and even selfishly worried about me. I'm sorry. I should have been there. She looked pale, too pale for the darkness of her skin. Let's sit, I said, taking a seat on the log and motioning for her to sit beside me. She didn't straddle it like she had the day before. She didn't even look at me. Brooke? Eat your food, it's probably already cold, she said, still looking off into the trees. The sun was getting low, but it still cast a warm orange light on the forest. I obeyed and gave her space for her thoughts, even though I had already eaten. I couldn't refuse what she had so angrily delivered to me. I would eat every bite. If it helped her forgive me, I'd eat the noodles that fell on the ground. I didn't realize who they were, she said when she finally spoke. She still didn't turn to look at me. The men? I clarified. The ones I bit? She nodded. It was dark, and I was afraid. Then you came as the wolf. It was all too much. But I know them, Peter. My gut twisted. You do? How well? Not terribly well, but their daughters are in my class at Midnight Springs Academy, so I've seen them many times over the years for various reasons. Do you think they do that to them? I asked, unable to form the actual words of the heinous thing they were trying to do to Brooke. She shook her head violently. No, I don't. I hope not. It wasn't very reassuring. I knew they weren't good men. That was always evident. I assumed it was because they both lost their wives, so they didn't have anyone to soften their hard edges. But Charles lost his wife, and he didn't become hardened by it. He would never do something like that. I tried to follow her pattern of thinking. So what do you make of that? She took a deep breath and said, I think it means Charles was always good, and Randy and Robert were always bad. Their wives probably covered for them when they were around and made them seem like they weren't as bad as they really were. That makes sense, I said. Did they both die? Robert's wife did, Kate's mom. She died last year from cancer. She was incredibly kind and good. She was the town vet, and everyone loved her. I don't know what she saw in him. And the other man's wife? Left him and the kids. No one knows where she is, she stated. So he could have killed her, I thought aloud. Her head whipped to me so fast I thought I heard her neck crack. What? No, I'm not saying that. He wouldn't. Someone wouldn't do something like that. Right? I shrugged. After what I saw in the woods, I'm not giving either man the benefit of the doubt. I'm not assuming either has the character or morality to not do something like that. She shivered, but the afternoon wasn't cold. Was she going into shock again? I don't want to tell anyone, Peter, she said. Her tone was final. Brooke, they have daughters. What if they're mistreating them? What if one killed his wife? What if they try to hurt someone else? She shook her head slowly. I know I should, but I don't want to. I can't. Why not? I asked, completely confused and bewildered. Because of Millie, she said. I don't want her to know what happened to me, and I don't want to draw attention to us and our lack of parental involvement. I don't want to risk going through all that and then Judge not even believing me. No one else was there. It's my word against theirs, and they are the ones with visible wounds, not me. You can't testify on my behalf. The risk is too great. And then what happens if I'm successful and they're put behind bars? Then 2 girls my age are thrust into a parentless life. Having a parentless life has been a nightmare for me too. But in their case, they may be sitting around praying someone would liberate them from their fathers, I said. She chuckled, but there was no humor in it. I can't risk it, Peter. I'm safe now. I have a home and food for Millie. That has to be enough. I'm sorry. I took her hand in mine. You don't have to apologize to me. You do what it takes to survive and save Millie. I understand that has to be your priority more than justice. But it still makes me see red that justice isn't going to be served, I admitted. It makes me want to show up at their houses and finish what I started. Would you? She asked. It felt like a trap. Would you really hunt them down and kill them as the wolf if you still remembered you were Peter? I stared into her eyes and told the truth. No, I wouldn't. And not because I know you don't want me to. I wouldn't do it because, up to this point, I haven't committed any terrible acts as Peter. As long as I'm Peter, I won't. I've tried to give up responsibility for what the wolf does because I can't control him, but I can control what I do. If I were still me, inside the wolf, I wouldn't kill them. This seemed to be a good enough answer for her. She linked her arm through mine, resting her head on my upper arm. What will you do if they come to hunt you? She whispered. Would you come stay with us at Charles's? No, I wouldn't risk luring the hunters toward any of you. Besides, I'm not the wolf now anyway. If they come hunting for one, then anyone they kill won't be me. What if they find this place? She asked, gesturing around us. That thought bothered me more than any of it. There isn't any evidence that a wolf lives here, so I'm not worried about that part. I'm more worried about being forced to leave or being robbed. They can't make you leave if Charles says you can stay on his land, she reasoned. And not to be rude, but do you really have much to steal? I chuckled. Yes, Miss Smarty Pants. I've been doing pretty well at the market since I took up for a certain little thief. She jerked up to look at me. Seriously? I actually helped you? I helped you, I corrected her, and people seemed to be impressed by my generosity. She leaned up to kiss me. Her lips were soft and warm. They felt like home. Thank you, she said. Thank you for everything you've done for me and Millie. I wanted to repeat the evening before and trade kisses for hours, but I knew that wasn't what she needed. I kissed her softly once more. You're welcome. I'm walking you back tonight to make up for missing dinner. It's non-negotiable. I stood and reached out for her hand. She smiled and placed it in mine, lacing our fingers together as we trekked through the wild forest separating her from me. I was wild, and she was steady. She had both feet firmly planted in the real world while I flirted with it from time to time. She had a sister, school, and a future beyond these woods. I never would. Deep down, I knew it wasn't sustainable. Recognizing the longevity of something was a skill I had honed from years in the woods. But at that moment, it didn't matter. I had her hand in mine, and that was enough. I'd hold it as long as she would let me. Besides, I had plenty of money to keep warm and fed this winter. Maybe I could get through the cold months without turning at all.